The year is 1996. You walk in your global hypercolour t-shirt and your cons, pogs in your pocket, rattling away into W.H. Smith's, and you buy yourself a copy of one of the two This and Future Music magazines available at the time, because you like recording sound upon sound. This is Sound on Sound from August of 1996, and it's a hell of a year. There's a lot of interesting stuff flying around, such as the MC303, a device that would prove to be important to me. That was actually the first piece of music equipment that I had to go with. History not been too kind to it. But what I wanted to do was move to the back of the magazine. Man, there's some fun stuff in here. There's a lot of ads you need sunglasses to look at. We're going to, mate, this sound control ad with this kind of space goo. What were you on about? Anyway, sound control went out of business. So at the back of it are the reader ads. These are the private ads that people would have placed to sell off the old junk that they didn't want because they wanted to spend £3,500 on a computer. Let's see what we can find, shall we? Oh, it starts. EMS Synthy AKS, a Synthy A with a keyboard sequencer, classic analog synth in briefcase, collector's item, good condition, £1,400 or nearest offer, Gareth. Don't ring that number. 1,400. What is that in modern? Let me just do the calculation real quick. £1,400 in 1996, costs in July 25. Oh shit, the bed. £2,826.81. Right now on Reverb, there is one of those selling for £26,000. I guess that's kind of encouraging in a way. It was expensive then. £3,000 is... It's a lot of money then, if you're struggling, for anyone. It's not £26,000, is it? Wow. Emu Morpheus, £650, half of that cost. Wow. And history would not be as kind. You can get Morpheuses for about £100 now. What else have we got? Fender Rhodes, Stage 73, £300. Wow. Wow. Okay. Gen SX1000, as used in LFO's LFO, £50. Kawai K1M, £100. Also used in LFO's LFO. I have one here. Look at this. Yamaha TG33 Ambient Beast, £195. I bought one of those in 2022 for £160. It's interesting. Some things just do not get picked up, but its friend next to it. The Roland Jupiter 6, £700. 700. That's £1,000, isn't it? Right? £1,413.41. Moog Mini Moog. Immaculate, with user and patch manuals, £850, i.e. about £1,500 in modern money. Or would part exchange for an SH101? Fair play, mate. Wow. Just a vibe change, I guess. Understandable. Moog modules. Modules. Numerous for sale. Modules. What? 5U? Moog Prodigy, £200. Base station rack, £325. Roland Juno 60. Reluctant sale. Fair enough, Andy. £495. 495. That's £1,000. It's not nothing, is it? We were creeping then. But then there's one right here with a CSQ60 for £290. You're overselling, Andy, but it is a reluctant sales. He doesn't want to get rid of it, which I respect because it's just such a dang good synth. That's £585 in modern money. And here we go. SH1000, £100. That's what? That's a great synth. Octave Cat, £360. Kitten, £250. CR78, £289. An SH1, £360. Pro 1, £390. Eee. Jupiter 6, £650. Jupiter 6, £800. Has MIDI. SH2, £200. Aye. Here's one. MKS80 with MPG80. Call Paul. £1,600. That's still a lot. And that still goes for a lot. And I think it's because there's this Gordon Reed of Sound on Sound printed a thing that basically implied it was the same as a Jupiter 8, when it's actually really the same as a Jupiter 6, depending on the revision. There's a revision 4 and there's a revision 5. The revision 5 isn't like anything, I don't think. I would try one of those at Turnkey years later. I don't know what revision I tried, but to be fair, it sounded absolutely great. SH101, mint, 295 quid. Man, SH101. SH1000, 150 quid. SH101, 175 quid. Juno 106, 400 quid. A U20, 350 quid. The history has not been kind to the U20. PV Spectrum, interesting. What even is that? There are a lot of 101s booting around. There are SH1000s booting around. What's weird is when you look at the equivalent value, you know, an SH101 for £295 mint, and like the SY35 keyboard, which is wicked, but it's like a weird Rompler wavetable thing, is 400 quid. It's just the sort of what we considered worth it. It's changed. I mean, yeah, it's weird. We just like different things now. Pro 1, good home wanted for this bubbly analog baby, £325. EMS vocoder system, 2,200. That's a lot, but it's like someone recognizing that at least they had something. Even then, this ain't happening again. These SYs. I have a TG77, which is like the SY77 or the SY99, isn't it? But they're good. Interesting synths. TX81Z, have one. 150 quid. Bargain. Still a bargain. I got mine for 100 quid. They are bargainous. Recording. ADAT. Alesis ADAT. Hardly used. Home use only. V3.05. 170 hours use. £1,750. Try getting that for that now. And I think it illustrates this point of how, you know, we've just inverted. It's understandable. It's just how it is. That was the way you did it. That was all you had. That's £3,500 in modern day money, you know? Now, there was still people that were like, you know, this EMS vocoder is 2,200 quid. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's more than that. So it's like, okay, there was some perception that there was something amazing in these analog bits of gear, but I just love seeing it. I love seeing this kind of inversion, certain technologies that just, they were the only way. So of course they were valuable. Computers of the day were very underpowered for what they were, you know, but they were the most powerful thing you could get. So they were worth the most money. But these stupid analog synths, why would they be worth anything? Weird, isn't it? Audio design scamp. This is an interesting one. The scamp. I've read about that. Like I think Jamie Liddell's talking about that. Yeah. Loads of multi-track recording, physical devices that do the recording. All of this gone. Computers. Computer is the multi-track recorder. Is that it? But wait, there's more. So many physical grey boxes that record sound. Atari 1040 with a 14-inch monitor, 250 quid. Now 100 quid. They were on the wane. They were dying at that point. Akai CD3000, 16 megs of RAM, £2,000, or very near offer. I know what I've got. Which they did, to be fair, in 96, didn't they? What were you going to do? You're going to buy a computer that can do that? Because you won't, because you can't, or it will cost you more. S2000, 900 quid, or swap for a 1080, JV 1080. S3000 XL, 1850. 2 megs of RAM, £1,000. You know, 1,000. That's like, it's £2,000 now. £2,000. Yeah. But again, that was how you did it. The S950s were worth less. But now, and just to make that point, what was that? Was that an S2000? Yeah, well, S2000, 900 quid. S950, 650 quid now. But now, the S2000 isn't vibey enough. So it isn't what people want. Now that thing, the thing that was cheap because it was too low quality, is now what people want. I know this is obvious, but it's just fun to like witness it. And you can guarantee that sort of thing is happening right now, isn't it? You know, what was true then is true now, isn't it? Why wouldn't it be? Is it an Aphex or a Brian Eno? It's a Brian Eno quote or something talking about like the quirks of whatever digital technology, the thing that people complain about are probably going to be the things that people celebrate. Like I spoke to Dave Rossum, whose orbit is all over this effing magazine. Like everyone had been sold orbits. And also things like the Nord Lead. I have the Nord Lead. I think it sounds fantastic. It's 30 years old, VA, but it's about the fact that there's something about tone that's just like kind of undeniable. And if it sounds good, it is good. Yeah, it's just weird. It's just worth thinking about. Think, what are the things that people piss and moan about now, sound-wise, sound fidelity? Well, those are things to lean into. Like, lean into them and get your cheap gear now. And I do that. Like, a lot of the stuff that's in here that's kind of the more expensive things, the TG33s, you know, I'm buying them because they're really interesting. And they've got crust and cruft and like a limited selection of wavetables, but it's really fun to like mangle them together. Look at all these fizzy ones. FZ1, 400 quid, 460. Cheap. Great cheap samplers. Right over there is an FZ10M. Maybe it was that one. Actually, no, because the dude that I bought it from had bought it new. Taste change. You know, we come to sort of realise we lost something. In a previous generation, we lost limitations, maybe. Anyway, weird. Atari 520 STFM, £200 or exchange for anything musical. Anything. What were you struggling with? That your Atari was like, you know, I want rid. I just want anything but this. Anything but this. It's not that bad. In fact, they're still quite good in their own way. Gen SX 1000, £85. Bosh. Should buy that. Don't phone any of these numbers, please. These people will not pick up. Or they might pick up and be like, are you mad? Are you out of your f***ing mind? This ad is... What is that? Ad is madness. That is madness. Hey, little turnkey. Oh, someone's cut this out. Someone wanted to win. They wanted to win. I want that. I want the Spirit Folio. I had the Spirit Folio F1 as my first mixer. It was all right. Not bad, sir. C-Lab Notator with an Atari 1040. 400 quid, Gary. All right, mate. Sequences. Alesis MMT8. £75. No wonder Orbital had two. 75 quid. 70 quid. No offers. Come on. I'm killing myself, says Dave. That is cheap. That is cheap. Like, that's great. You could do a lot with that. MC202. £250. Yes, I'll take it. But even then, that's not nothing. That's still fairly a fair whack. Okay, drum machines. Here we go. I'll be heading to R for Roland. TR909. Offers above 600. TR808 with Kenton MIDI retrofit, 600. 727, 110. History's not been as kind to the 727 with its Latin feel. I don't know why. Because, you know, you're going to get bored of that 909, aren't you? That's not going to keep you going for another full 30 years. £1,211 in modern money. 1,200 quid for a 909. And the same for the 808. £1,200 in modern money. And what do they go for now? Like 2,500? Isn't it? Is it £3,000? I don't look because I can't. I'm just not going to do that, am I? It's just not going to happen. Wow. Yeah. 1,200 quid. And there's earlier in this magazine, it says, oh, if you were going to buy a 303, where's the 303? There's no one selling them, is there? Or are they? Wanted. Is there going to be a TB303? It said basically you'd have to spend £2,000 to buy a 303, an 808, and a 909. This is in 96. And of course, 89 is the very, very lowest point of the sort of value of analog. 89. If you were to get in a DeLorean with a few grand in like 89, pounds sterling sort of denomination, you'd go to 89, you'd whip open the Sound on Sound reader ads and you'd clear up. But here it wasn't the increase, but still, it's not nothing, is it? Even then. And you get the, R8, it doesn't say. No, it does, 320. Half as much for an R8. That is interesting. Yeah. Wanted. 2 megabyte Sims. 30 pin for Roland S750 sampler. I'm desperate. Poor Jason. The internet hasn't been, well, it has been invented, but you haven't got it, obviously. So just getting hold of like stupid things like that. Like I need more RAM. Piece of piss now. Not a piece of piss then. Look. Wanted. TB303, £350 is what I'll pay you for one. What? I'll pay you £16 for an SH101. I guess that means 160. Look, here you go. I want a 101, MC202, TB303, 808, JD800, Juno 160, Cubase audio sample editor, Moog sequential. I mean, aside from that, the sort of Cubase audio sample editor blows my theory right out, but, potentially a time traveler we've got on our hands who's like, booked this and is staying for a couple of weeks. 909 will pay 600, TR808 300, Wasp 150, Jupiter 8, I'll give you 600. Yeah? That's £1,211.49 in modern money for your Jupiter 8. Yeah. Whoever owned this, I hope you did get a Spirit Folio, and I hope you did call some of these numbers, because if you didn't, you maybe missed out on some deals, depending on where you were at, because there's a very real chance that, there was just too much money. I've spoken to people before who were like, I sold a Jupiter 8 in 93 or whatever for 600 quid or something. He says, but I needed the money. So tough. Yeah, I lost. I had no choice. And, money is money. Like, you've got to live. And what's the thing that in 20 or 30 years time, what's going to be the thing? What's going to be the thing you're going to be kicking yourself for selling? The reason I have this is that I'm building a part of my studio where it's going to be 1996. And the idea is that the gear that's in that studio part of it is sort of congruent to that year. It's stuff that you would have been able to get then for reasons that will become clear. That is not quite true. Like there'll be a sort of weird time dilation effect where there'll be some things from the future, but most of it will be sort of the period. And it comes from that fact that of like, I want the things that when I first started making music, everyone says this, when I first started out, I had the least amount of stuff, but I was the most productive. And I think it's true. You couldn't afford more stuff, could you? Getting by, I could barely afford all this crap that I had to buy. I can't buy more, so I better use it. And you rinsed it, and it was all new and fresh and exciting. And also, at this time, we're in a period where the internet isn't something that everybody has, like our mate trying to get RAM. And so you don't have the distractions of the internet. And so, understandably, you're much more focused in the 90s than you can be now with a phone in your pocket, a constant attention. And of course, the responsibilities of being an older person where you've got, family and real responsibilities that you can't shirk on. And so you don't just have the luxury of spending every day making music and to please yourself and focusing entirely on what you have. But maybe if we think about the things that we'll regret, it's a question of, does having all the technology help? Does having a DAW where everything is possible, is that a hindrance in many respects? And the interesting thing about hardware for me is this idea that it's about having interesting limits. It's about saying, I tend to like overwrite if I've got like a DAW. I tend to add tracks at without sort of fixing the song, as it were. Whereas in hardware, you've got a limited amount of tracks because you're limited by the hardware. So you have no choice but to just make those work musically to a much stronger degree. And so I suppose in that, for me, I think back, why did it work? What worked about it? And what can I recreate? But also say, if I go back to then, knowing what I know now, will I be able to have the best of both worlds? Take modern knowledge, apply it to old things, and get rid of a lot of the things that I kind of regret technologically. Things like, unfettered 24/7 internet access, a fire hose of information, which is amazing. This website that lets you see videos about anything and everything, any topic. But you also have to stop and you actually have to do something yourself, make your own discoveries and actually do stuff, not just vegetate. So it's a question. What did we miss? What did we lose? What do we gain? Anyway, I'm getting in a time machine. I'll see you in the past. Thanks.